Good morning. Today's story only came to me yesterday afternoon. I had it all figured out on Thursday, I had my pictures ready to go, and the Lord showed me I had to change my story. It's a little bit different than what I normally do, but I do hope it will bless you today. We're actually going to look at two people that lived not too long ago, and the majority of the church might even know them because they're quite well known. And they lived in a time when my grandfather was about early teenagers. And he lived in a time that is now known as the Second World War. And these two people we'll be looking at, they found themselves on the opposite sides of the war. And they lived in a country called the Netherlands or Holland. And it's close to my heart because I'm from Belgium and Holland is just a country right above it and they share the same language. So we'll have a look at someone. Can I have the first picture, please? I don't know, do you recognize them? That was a long time ago. They're two sisters. They're Corrie and Betsy ten Boom. And they were Christians. They lived in Holland in the time of the Second World War. And the Second World War was horrible. I remember my grandfather didn't want to talk about it because it was so horrible. And the Jewish people especially were hated in that time. And it was also very dangerous to protect them. It could cost you your life. And Corrie and Betsy, they were, as far as I'm aware, born in Holland. And they were Christians and they didn't agree. They were part of the resistance, and no matter how risky it could be, they decided to help the Jewish people. And they decided to create a special room where they could hide. And at any given time, 5 to 6 Jews were always in the house until they were able to go into a safe place. And it is estimated that this family saved about 800 Jews by doing so, at the risk of their own life, potentially. Every day they had to practice to get in time into the hiding place, and they had to make sure, if it was in the middle of the night, to flip their mattresses so that when the army would come in, they wouldn't notice that someone had slept on the bed. So they had to practice to do that in time. Unfortunately, one day it happened that their practice became reality. The Nazis had discovered it, and they came into the house. Now all the Jewish people there, they were hidden. But unfortunately the family was taken. Corrie, a little bit later, discovered though that the Jewish people that were hiding, they were in the closet about 2 days, they were safe. Her family and Corrie were taken to camps in really bad circumstances. Can I actually have the next picture? Because I forgot about that one. It shows Corrie later, at a later age, where you can actually see where they had to go into the hiding, so it was very tiny, it was only a very small space into the closet. So Corrie, as you can see, she survived. She was able to leave the camp. She later discovered it was a mistake. I look at it as a miracle from God who kept her safe. The rest of the family didn't survive. Another story we'll look at, she found herself on the opposite end. She was a Jewish young girl also living in Holland at the same time. But she was in hiding herself. She had people just like Corrie, not Corrie, but just like her, who kept them safe. Can I have a picture of her, please? This is Anne Frank, or as we say in Dutch, Anne Frank. And she was one of the people that had to go in hiding. And she had people helping them. There were days that they had no food because the helpers weren't able to reach them. They were in that hiding place for 2 years without going outside. Can you imagine? We were already complaining being isolated for a couple of days because of COVID. Eventually also her family was caught. Unfortunately, she didn't survive. But why am I sharing these stories? Because there are stories in the Bible as well. One particular one that comes to mind that we're going to talk about today is about a woman who decided to hide strangers into her own house. A little bit similar in other circumstances. But she also did it at the risk of her own life. If they would have found out that those two people were hiding, she would have probably been dead, including those 2 people. But she decided to keep them safe because she felt that God, the Lord, that the 2 strangers were serving, she knew in her heart that God was real. So she decided to keep those 2 strangers safe and to let them down by a red rope. You know the story? Esther and Hannah, do you know? The woman who led the 2 strangers back outside with a red rope? Who was it? Rahab. It was very courageous of her to do that, to help them. And as such, the Lord blessed her too and kept her safe. And the stories that I shared today, it's beautiful to see that there are people still standing up for what is right, still doing what is right in the sight of the Lord, even if it might cost them their own lives. And we never know when we might have to do the same, to treat the strangers as they are our family. Because in the end, we're all God's created beings. We're all God's children. And I pray that all of us may find the courage to protect those in need when we need to. Amen. Thank you for listening. I'd like to announce now a special item. The children and the youth will be singing a song for you all. Thank you.